What is up, guys, and welcome back to Bourbon. Today we are headed over to Shively, Kentucky, and we are going to visit the Michters distillery, specifically the Michters small batch US1 Kentucky straight bourbon. Bam! This is Michters small batch. This is batch number 20 Charlie 462. What they typically mean when they're describing a small batch, they don't do no more than 24 barrels at a time. This specific bottle is coming in at 45.7 alcohol by volume, making it a 91.4 proof. History dates it back to the state of Pennsylvania. I believe it used to be called Bourbon's Distillery. It dates it all the way back to 1753, and it eventually closed down due to bankruptcy around 1980. In the 1950s, it is said that the Michters original sour mash whiskey was made by Louis Foreman and Charles Beam. Foreman and Beam. Yep. In the 1990s, it went from Chatham Imports under a KVD contract, and then they transferred it in 2016 to Shively, Kentucky, where it is now Michters Distillery, and they source from Brown Foreman. There is no age statement, and although there also technically isn't a mash bill, it is said to be 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. Nonetheless, guys, let's open it up. Oh, it's delicious. I've had Michters before a very long time ago. Wasn't really a whiskey connoisseur or whatever you want to call it, but I'm not going to be surprised to find that this has all the typical classic bourbon notes, or maybe I'll be shocked, who knows. Typical. What I'm getting on the nose is a sweet corn, honey, maple, a little peppery, so I do expect to pick up a little bit of spice. It's 91.4% proof, not too high in the scale, but I still do get some peppers and spices in there. Very mellow, subtle notes, but all encompassing the typical or the classic bourbon whiskey notes. So here's my thing. I'm not gonna say anything about the ethanol, only because I have not let this sit too long. As you guys know in my reviews, pop it open almost immediately to sipping. Sometimes I let it sit for a minute, sometimes I go straight into it. If the nose is not ethanol-like, I usually go straight into it. On the Michters, every single subtle yet sweet note that you tend to pick up from a classic bourbon that I was picking up on the nose. The honey, the vanilla, the maple, the brown sugar, the sweet corn, the pepper, subtle on the palate, almost non-existent. On the second sip, I get a little bit more of the vanilla, a little bit more of the spices. Obviously it lingers a little bit on the finish. It's the second sip, so that you've come to expect that. And on the third sip, it's just all spice. Maybe a little bit of a sweet brown sugar note, but the spice pretty much dominates, overpowers, lingers on the palate, lingers on the finish. It's all mellow. Here's my thing. If Michters small batch was coming in at 25 bucks, maybe even 30 bucks, I'd recommend it. This specific bottle can range anywhere between maybe middle to high 40s, $50, sometimes even up to $60. It's not so readily available. You have to kind of somewhat look for it. And to be honest, for all the hype, it's...
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Listen, they source from Brown Foreman, so I expect a lot when it comes to somebody who's sourcing their product from Brown Foreman. Brown Foreman is huge, you know, they have tons of different companies out there, and for this to just lack that, I can only see why it went through so much from the time that they first opened up in 1753 all the way to the time that they shut down in 1980s, to and from selling this person, that person. It's just not quite cutting it. But if you guys have had Michters small batch and you thought something else, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys thought and why you guys thought it was good. If it differs from what I thought, it just wasn't cutting it for me. If you guys have a whiskey that you think I should be reviewing next here on Bottled and Bond, let me know in the comments below. Smash that like button if you like what you saw. I'm Ozzy. This is Michters Small Batch US1 Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey from Michters Distillery in Shively, Kentucky. And this is Bottled and Bond. Cheers.